Today on the Rodney O Podcast, the topic is preparing before you run into battle. You know, wars have been lost due to lack of preparation, so you don't want that to happen to you in business. So we'll learn how to prepare before entering into battle of entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Rodney O Podcast. You know, I shared many a times about my past jobs and the things I used to do for work, these things I used to do for money, things I used to do to survive. And, you know, one of them was a paper route. And my paper route was not my first job. I was already working at Taco Bell by then as a 15-year-old, but I took a paper route because I wanted extra money. I wanted something that was kind of flexible per se. You know, I had to do it in the morning. But I had to, deliver papers every day and then collect. And then I get to keep anything that I collected more of than what I owed the paper company. That's basically economics of how a paper route ran. And I was smart enough to get routes that many people couldn't do via bicycle. So I got paid a little bit more per paper because it was a route to where I needed a car. One was a new development in the area, a huge development up in the hills that required a vehicle in order to deliver these papers. And this was my first introduction to entrepreneurship, right? Because it wasn't like an hourly job. It wasn't like my other job at Taco Bell where I got paid per hour. It was a job to where you got to keep profit after spending money and paying for the product. So you were the distributor of a product, you were buying from the supplier, and anything over you kept over was yours. That's kind of a simplification of it because you couldn't charge more for the papers because the newspaper company determined the price per paper. But anyway, that is basically the gist of it. And you got tips and things that worked. And so I tried to maximize the collection opportunity. Man, I'm dating myself because I'm showing how old I am. Because if I had the things available now that was available back then with Venmo and Cash App and all those things, it'll be a lot easier. And most likely the newspaper companies would just collect themselves directly. But, back then they wanted you to do door to door. So I had a system of where I said, just mail me. I sent them a statement and I said, just mail in how much you pay. Because some people did pay the newspaper company directly, right? And so at the end of every month, you would go, they would say, we collected this much. The newspaper company would say, we collected this much. Based on who's not paying us, you owe this much. And this is how much we charge per paper. And anything left over in the cash, that's what you keep. If we owe you a check, we'll give you a check. And so that's the gist of how it worked. And so, what I learned quickly was that I didn't like it. And the reason why I didn't like it is because I didn't do my research beforehand, and I didn't realize, with the gas and amount of time I was spending, the flexibility that I thought I had, I really didn't have that much flexibility because I had to spend, my early mornings waking up, folding in the papers. I probably could have hired an employee to fold for me for a certain price. There's a lot of things I could have done, but it was my first introduction into the world of entrepreneurship. And then Taco Bell helped me too because I learned about franchising. My first job that I worked with Taco Bell was not with the corporation. I ended up working for the corporation later because it was sold to the corporation, which at the time was Pepsi. Didn't know if you guys knew that. But anyway, I learned about franchising and why you would or would not do it, why it's good and why it's bad. And I found out that with all the money they made, because I looked and I said, man, this place is raking in money. There's a lot of pieces to the pie. All of that money you make, the gross sales that you make, doesn't mean net profit because you have things like labor, huge costs, right? What you pay people. And what you pay them per hour is not it. There's more money than what you pay them per hour because if they have a benefits package, that's more money. Taxes, you have to pay half of their, there's more expenses for the business owner, right? Then there's the food, the product. There's advertising. And so there is different pieces of the pie. That means you don't get to keep the gross income. So I learned a lot about that. And about franchising, going back to that, the reason why franchising is good for the company that owns the franchise is because right off the top, you get a percentage of the sales. So people have to pay, if you want your own Taco Bell, because I researched this back in the day, you have to pay a franchise fee, startup costs, you have to build the building. There's a lot of costs involved. And you can end up, like the owner said when I talked to him a couple years later about owning one, you could end up losing a lot of money and not making any money for a while inside a franchise. Nowadays, Chick-fil-A franchise is fantastic, by the way. I learned that too. And then from there, I went into real estate, and that's where I learned about errors and omission insurance. You need insurance. I learned about independent contracting. What does it mean to be an independent contractor? Because you got to make sure you pay your taxes. You are now a 1099 employee. So just wanted to, guys, let you know that that's my history. That's my story of other things I did in the past that taught me entrepreneurship. And so today, I want to dive into what it means to prepare before running into battle. And this battle I'm talking about is entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Rodney O Podcast. Well, today I want to take a look at this day and age where entrepreneurship is the buzzword. That's the thing to do right now, entrepreneurship. Especially among young people. Be your own boss. Don't waste your money on college. Don't go to college. College is a waste of time. It's the worst mistake you can make. Don't get into debt when you go into college. You can make a lot of money online. This new age of the internet and the smartphone, you can make money just doing that and not working a 9 to 5. All of those things, guess what, are 100% true. It's not the only way to go. I went to college. I got 2 degrees, a bachelor's and a master's. But what I'm saying is that right now it's a popular thing to be your own boss, to go into entrepreneurship. And so many people are doing it. And some people are making it big. Some people are being successful in that. And we saw so many people do this already. You can go on Instagram and just scroll through and you can see the people who are killing it doing this. You can see the people who are faking it. And after talking to them for a while, at least I can see that they're full of it, right? But many people are successful at it. Because people grow weary of colleges, of student debts, of working a job where you can get replaced, right? At the drop of a hat, they're going to replace you or you get laid off. It's not working. We need to make a change, a transition. Or this COVID happens, we have to lay you off. And then your income stops. And so a lot of people are seeing the negatives of that. But then the byproduct of that is we are seeing a lot of people who are jumping into things pretty quickly, like fitness, becoming fitness coaches, people as young as 16 coaching people. And I'm not knocking it. Look, there's pros and cons to that. But a lot of times what happens is you get somebody who maybe 15 or 16 has a quick, fast metabolism. Doesn't matter what they eat. They're going to be burned quickly. So they can eat 4,000 calories a day and they can say, look, it doesn't matter what you eat. Just work out, do this, bam, I'm going to coach you. And then if they just happen to get somebody who's maybe in their 50s or 40s or something, or metabolism is a lot slower, they may have issues because they didn't do research and educate themselves on how to really do it. But they can make some money by coaching those that are the same as them, right? But you want to expand your client base and do more. Again, not knocking it, just saying you might want to do a little bit of research. Forex, that's a big one on me. I've talked about Forex for seems like a couple years now. And people get into that because they just hear it's a moneymaker. They don't understand it. They don't know exactly what it is, or they kind of know, oh, it's a foreign exchange of currencies. Yeah, what does that mean for you? How are you going to make money doing it? Do you know how to trade Forex? Do you know the risk involved? Because my whole take is like, you might as well go to Vegas and play blackjack. But I get a lot of negative feedback for saying that. But anyway, Forex, do your research at least. Do your research, know what it is, know the risk, know what you're getting into. They go for it because they hear it's a way of making money, right? And so there are so many people that are doing so many different things to try to make this thing work, which is good in itself. And I think it shows a lot of drive and it shows a lot of ambition. But the frustration comes when the burnout numbers are looked at, because the burnout numbers and the frustration numbers are very, very high. Right? It results from people not knowing how to do things properly. How do you collect the money from people when you sell this product? Venmo, Cash App. Just a quick exchange. How do you report this money to, guess what? The IRS. And some people may say they don't make enough. Yeah, you might be under the radar of the IRS for a long time. That is true. But suppose what you want to do, you make it big, like you're making big money. Can you spend the money and then get flagged by the IRS? And then they're going to dig into everything and find out how much money you made. And there are penalties and consequences for that. Big time. You don't want to mess with the IRS. Trust me. Please trust me in that. Your business structure. Are you just calling yourself John Smith Fitness Guy? Right? Or are you a sole proprietor? Do you need an LLC? Are you going to form a partnership? Do you have a partner? Or do you want to do a C Corp? All of these things you need to know. You need to understand what they are. Do your research and set your business up properly so you're not playing catch up later or you're not caught off guard. Protect yourself. Speaking of that, do you need insurance, liability insurance? Do you need E&O, which is errors and omission insurance? Just in case you make an error or an omission and you get sued. Learn about deductibles for those insurance programs. Liability insurance. Are you liable for somebody getting injured because you told them to do something? What if it's a big injury, right? Could happen. Could happen. Are you prepared? Do you have contracts and agreements for these people who are doing these things? Hey, you pay me this for this exchange of that. Are they signing anything? A contract? Is it word of mouth? Is there an agreement in place? These are simple, basic things that can cause a world of hurt if you do not know how to do them, or you don't know about them, or you ignore them. Maybe you started a business, right? Maybe you're going this route. You started a business, but then you don't realize all the expenses that get into it. Your profit's not as much as you thought it would be, right? Or how do you distribute the product? What are the production costs? Do I need employees? All these things you got to take into consideration, right? Simple if you're doing fitness, it doesn't really cost much, right? But maybe that website, maybe you're producing materials in a PDF form that can easily be sent out, and then somebody else can take that and copy it and use it themselves or give it to their buddies. Maybe they're selling it too. They're getting it from you and they're selling it to somebody else. Unethical, I know. Could happen. Maybe they're changing a few words, right? Is there protections against that? Employees, maybe you want people to help you push your product. How are they getting paid? Oh, I'm just going to give them something on Venmo. Okay. Well, then think about that. When the IRS comes to you and you say, you know what? Suppose you made it big, right? I made $100,000 in this year. That may flag the IRS if you're a 17, 18, 15-year-old making that kind of money, right? And they come to you and they say, hey, you haven't filed taxes in 2 years. You made $100,000 each year. And then you sit there and you say, okay, instead of owing, the 45 grand or something to the IRS plus penalties per year, I'm going to say no, I have paid employees like the 100,000. I have production costs. I paid this person for a website. I paid these people for, for selling my product. So I didn't really make 100,000. Oh yeah. Where's your records? They're going to say. And if you don't have anything, guess what? You're on the hook. So what do you do with employees? Do you hire the employees as independent contractors? And so you give them a 1099 at the end of the year? Or are they simply W-2 employees, hourly employees? What's the difference in those? How do you set that up? How do you make sure it's reported properly? These are things you need to do research on and know before you jump into this entrepreneurship battle. What are your refund policies? Well, somebody says they're unhappy and they want their money back, and you say no. Small claims court, they can file that. Are you on the hook? Do you got to go to work? Do you got to travel to their place, right? When they file and defend yourself, or else maybe you're on the hook. They win. You don't show up. All these things, do research. You need to know. You need to know about contracts. You need to know about agreements, business structures. Because it is important to educate yourself and do research before jumping into business, before jumping into this entrepreneurship battle. It's very important. And so as I shared all of this with you, you feel free to message me and I can help you. I can help you set up business structures. I can help you give advice. right? I may be developing a course later on that you can go and learn all this stuff off of. But the next steps I want to leave you with is do your research or find a business mentor, someone you can talk to that can help you through all of this. Because you don't want to use the lack of knowledge as an excuse not to act, right? Or you don't want to use the knowledge that you have as an excuse not to act. Once you get the knowledge, go for it. Because no, that's one of the things about entrepreneurship, right? Is go for it. Don't overthink. And it's very true. Don't overthink, but also do your research to know what you're talking about and then move. And so the next step I want to leave you with is to keep on learning. Keep on going on and learn how to do this. So I hope that helps. And as always, please feel free to dialogue with me. My YouTube channel, Rodney O Weekly, shows I am living what I speak. And I keep saying this. I'm going to go back and do more videos soon. So please be sure to subscribe to that channel. The link is in the podcast description, or you can simply go to YouTube and search Rodney O Weekly. And remember this, I want to inspire, encourage, and motivate all of you as you navigate this journey that we call life. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one.